If you are considering doing any kind of remodel in the near future, one thing you are definitely thinking to yourself is, what can I do that is going to add value to my property? Well, I present to you what is more important at the moment is knowing what stuff will not add value to your property, when it makes sense to go ahead and just do it anyway, just because you like it that much, and when it makes sense for you not to do what it is you're considering doing. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska with Keller Williams, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching and real estate. And today, we're going to be talking about the top things that are not going to add value to your property. Before we get started, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, because that really helps our algorithm. Now, let's go and do today's video and answer this question for you. Now, the first thing that I want to point out is there is actually a big difference between property value, adding value to a property, and adding appeal to the property. In the eyes of the appraiser, the only things that really are going to matter are going to be the size, it's going to be the condition, and that's really about it. That's the lion's share of what they're looking at. Now, appeal items is going to be stuff like hot tub, wood stove, paved driveway. Stuff like that is going to add a lot of appeal. It doesn't necessarily show up as value in the actual appraisal. There is no special section in there that says, oh, they have a hot tub, there's an extra $5,000 worth of value. That's really not there. So there is a difference between value and appeal. And sometimes if you string together enough of these appeal items, it eventually starts showing up as value just because you have buyers that are more willing to show up for those properties. And I certainly do understand that definitely does happen. It's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that it's going to show up, though. So that's really the biggest thing I would say right up front is, hey, even though you spent $15,000 putting in this hot tub, does not mean the value of the property is suddenly $15,000 higher than it was before. If you can show me through some comparisons how another exact property had a hot tub, and okay, well, that just means you're right about there where the other one is if everything else is equal. So that's just kind of tell you that. The reason we do all these appeal items is because we love them, and it's going to make living in that property, a lot more enjoyable, and it's going to be something that you really plan on using for a long time. Those are going to be the big reasons you use that stuff. But let's go ahead and talk about the stuff that's really not going to add value to your property. Now, first off, I'm going to give you these items here, and I hope this doesn't trigger anyone too bad. There are specific reasons that people go and do each one of these, and the reason that you're doing it is probably not primarily to add value to your house. So just in case you've gone and done one of these before, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea or you shouldn't have done it. I am saying it's probably not going to add value to the house, or it might not add the value to the house that you thought it would. So number one is finding a garage stall and converting it into living space. So this kind of can sort of balance out a little bit, because yes, you do get some more square footage and the appraiser is going to consider that. But the thing that you're missing out on is every time you take out a garage stall, the appraiser is going to consider each garage stall worth $10,000. So every time you take one of those out, then you're going to lose that $10,000 of value that it would have taken for that garage stall. Additionally, people like garages in Alaska. Now it's like got like negative 10 degrees last night. And if I had to park my car out on the street or outside, I would not be pleased about that at all. So people really like their garage stalls and like their garages. And I can't say I'd really recommend doing that. Now, if you needed it for other reasons, growing family, you needed some kind of a workspace, and that was just what it was, that's perfectly fine. Just don't expect it to necessarily show up higher property value, though. Let's take a break real quick. If you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you do know that I focus primarily on the South Central Alaska area. And while that's going to remain the case moving forward, we are actually going to be partnering with our colleagues across the entire state to bring you market updates for what's going on inside the markets of each one of the big market centers here in the state of Alaska, looking at Fairbanks, Kenai, Homer, Kodiak, and Juneau/the Southeast area. So this is going to be a very exciting project called the Trailblazer Project. I've not seen this done in any other state before, where we are bringing you all the market updates for the entire state under the roof of one channel. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So when you guys are seeing market updates coming from people who aren't just me on the channel, you know what's going on there. If you guys are really nice, then we might actually be able to convince some of these folks to actually provide some more content and talk specifically about what it's like living in their market. So when you see these videos pop up, make sure to jump over there, give them plenty of likes, plenty of love, give them lots of comments. And just know that that's fulfilling kind of the mission we still have on the YouTube channel to help you build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate, whether that be in South Central Alaska or anywhere else in Alaska that we have our colleagues in at the moment. So just want to make you aware of that, and let's go and finish today's video. The next thing I'm going to have on this list, and this one hurts my heart a little bit, and that is a wood stove. Just because you put in a wood stove doesn't naturally bring up the price of the property. Some people love wood stoves. Other people don't like them, though. It really kind of depends on what audience it is that you're talking to. I installed a wood stove just a little bit ago. It is a fantastic addition to the house. Whether it adds anything to the value or not, I would still totally do it. Would do it all over again because it kind of keeps my heating bill a little bit lower during the winter time. And if something happens, like let's say the gas, electric, everything just goes out, I've still got a way to keep my house warm and keep it warm well for a couple of days until everything gets all sorted out. So for that reason, even though it doesn't necessarily add a lot of value to the house, I'm still sticking to my guns, and I'm happy I installed the wood stove. Now, the next thing that doesn't necessarily add value to your house on paper are going to be chicken coops. Having a chicken coop, great. A lot of people just love having chickens. Other people are not going to care. So it's, again, one of those things where depending on the person, it might add more value. But if you're somebody else that just hates chickens, let's say you have some childhood fear of chickens, not that that's me or anything, but if you have, some people that love chicken, some people that don't, and it really just depends on who it is that you're talking to. And it's not going to be a value thing where the appraiser goes in and says, oh, chicken coop, extra $12,000. It doesn't work that way. So it's going to depend, again, on who it is that we're talking to. Now, this next one, again, this is going to be something near and dear to my heart, hot tubs. Usually these are just a big pain in the rear when you're trying to sell them because they're trying to verify everything's working the way that it should. And if you've had a hot tub for any amount of time, hot tubs are always needing something to be done on it. So there's going to be some work involved with that. And it doesn't necessarily add a lot of value to the property. Again, there's no column that says, okay, hot tub, $15,000. That's not there either. Does it add a lot of appeal? You betcha. If they are hot tub people, they are definitely going to pick that house over a similarly priced house in the area every time. So that's really where you start seeing the benefit of these items like hot tubs and wood stoves. Let's take a break real quick here. For those who've been watching for a little bit, you know that I host the Alaskan Journey podcast, in which I interview people who have recently moved to Alaska and talk about their experiences. If you've recently moved to Alaska or you've lived up here for years, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to chat with you and see if you would like to be featured on the podcast and talk about your story. Now, let's go and finish up today's video talking about the things that do not add value to your property. All right, now this next one, I might catch a little heat for this, but if you have a property that has an only slightly better view than the average in the area, it's not going to be adding really a whole lot of benefit to your property at all. It has to be a glorious, right out of the National Geographic kind of view to make it that much better than everyone else in the neighborhood. And that's kind of hard for some people to hear. Some people love the views from their property, and that's perfectly fine. Just don't expect a complete stranger to be willing to pay $10,000, $20,000 more just because they have a slightly different view of Mount Baldy. Additionally, if you have a property with a fence or a yard, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be more valuable. Now, if you have like a fence that is going to add a ton of value to the property, well, it's going to add a ton of appeal for people with dogs and pets and kids. That's going to add a ton of appeal to the property. So I don't want to downplay it. But again, that's not going to be something the appraiser is going through and looking for. All right, I'm stepping right into it here, but that's what we do. So if you have recently replaced the roof, the boiler, the furnace, that doesn't add more value to the property. If you are buying a property from someone, would you be willing to pay them more just because they went and did some routine maintenance they were going to have to do anyway? Not going to add a whole lot of value to the property. Again, adds a lot of appeal. If I find out, hey, this property just had a new roof put in a little bit ago, I'm not willing to pay an additional $20,000 for it, but I am definitely more willing to get in there and compete for it though. So again, if all these things don't necessarily add value that is going to quantitatively show up at your bottom line in a predictable manner, why do people do them? And it's because they're awesome. We love these features, adds a lot of joy to having the property. And so for that reason, it really does pay for itself, and it's great additions. Now, if you had all these things on one property, that would be a really tricked out, awesome house. and I'm sure people would be very interested. And as long as it supports, like it's within like the market analysis and all that, and it's priced to where it needs to be, yeah, you'd probably have people fighting for it in the front yard. So again, that's one of the values of having a really tricked out house that's got all these additions and nice things to it. It does add a lot of appeal. And if you're in a competitive market where suddenly as sellers, you're having to compete with other sellers, stuff like that can make a big difference. It's not going to necessarily get you more, but it is going to actually get your property sold. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful. If it has, make sure you give this video a like. And if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to me and be happy to chat.